Plausibly live from the corner of 75 and 121 here in the great city of McKinney, Texas. Welcome back to another episode of Dynamic Chapter. We are joined today by the very talented. No, I'm just joking. Very talented. Always makes good decisions. Jamie Loeks. Welcome to the podcast. Jamie, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chad. As Chad said, I'm Jamie Loeks. I currently work for mcaConnect. I am a senior consultant with them in their managed services team. I've been working with AX for about seven and a half years now, in various capacities as a consultant as well as internal. So really excited to have this session with you, Chad.
Yeah. No, you're not. But you got conned into this. So
I
appreciate you lying to everybody. That's nice. But no, really do appreciate you. Appreciate the Godfather over there at MCA. You know who you are, Claude Watson. Just the entire team over there. I love you guys. But thank you for doing this. Thank you for allowing you to do this. And we're gonna have some fun here. Talk a little inventory. Talk a little Power BI. And I look forward to really showing you up throughout this podcast. Really, showing you that anything you can do, I can do better with Power BI. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Jamie, thank you so much. And you are listening to Dynamics Chatter. Welcome back to Dynamics Chatter, where I'm in here with Jamie. How do you pronounce your last name again? I'm sorry.
It's Loeks. It's a wonderful Dutch last name, so it's okay if people get it wrong.
So not Loki. I can't go Loki. I can't. Okay.
No,
all right.
You can go Loogie, Loeks.
All right.
Lock.
All right. Well, hey, well, Jamie, thank you so much for joining us. And today, as we mentioned in our opening, like inventory management and Power BI, they're better together. Okay. Right. Today, Jamie will be playing the role of nerdy functional consultant dealing with inventory, and I will be playing the role of guy living down by the river. Okay.
Did I hear a niner in there, Chad?
Yeah. Maybe it has to be your bowl, Jamie. Okay. But basically, we're going to try to bring two worlds together, right? We got the guy who doesn't know anything about data, and we got the guy who's never seen an inventory transaction, doesn't know what it's about. And I think like if we bring these two people together, the world's going to be a better place. All right. So basically the goals for today is, now we're going to do one of two things. We're either going to alienate everybody, or hopefully what generally happens to me is I get a group of functional people that I'm teaching Power BI to, or I get a bunch of Power BI people that I'm teaching functional concepts to. Either way, I hope that you have a very good understanding of inventory transactions, but really understand what you can do with Power BI functionally at all stages of a project. I want you to understand the key concepts of inventory and understand the value of Power BI, but most importantly, leave here using the free stuff, all right? Free stuff. I'm going to give you the out-of-the-box inventory on hand, Power BI desktop file, out-of-the-box inventory value summary. I'm also going to give you a custom one that requires some code, all right? But no complaining, because you have the code and you have the install instructions. You also have the connection instructions so that you can change all of these models to your D365 environment, okay? The out-of-the-box ones will work with any D365 environment. And again, please use these. And I think that they're not just for reporting and for something that happens. Like you should be using it day one of the implementation, as far as I'm concerned. So
this looks so easy. I think I can do this, Chad.
Yeah. That's why I brought you on, Jamie, because I figure that if somebody's watching this and they say, man, these two guys can do it, then anybody could do it. Like if they could do that, just imagine what we could do. That's really where I'm trying to go with this. All right. But the other important point that we'll get to at the end here is like, this presentation is not about Power BI and it's not about inventory. It's actually about something much, much more. All right. So here's our scenario. We talked about this. Just to break it down for you. We have a PO that we created here for 30 units, $10. Brand new item group. Basically, we're going to receive 30. Then we're going to scrap 10, and we're going to talk about whether or not humanity is naturally good or naturally bad. I'm going to go with good, Jamie. I'm going to go good. You're probably going to go bad.
I'll take the pessimistic approach.
Yeah, because I mean that's exactly what David Spade would do, right? And then basically, last but not least, we're going to invoice for $2 more than what we received it as. And then since Jamie, since you're not a very good functional consultant, like you didn't run the inventory close in September and October, great job, buddy. All right, but at least you did it before the end of the year, right? That's something. So
well, Chad, there's the physical quantity that I care about and the financials that someone else has to deal with.
Oh, gotcha. You're that guy. All right, yeah. Basically, I'm the guy that worked on the financial side the other time. So I was the guy going, "What are you doing?" All right, I know you don't care about how much it costs, but I don't know. You might when I hit your department with a $50,000, Inventory charge, right?
Yeah, that might be a problem.
Adjustment, right? Yeah, how you like that? How does that taste? All right. So, so basically, like, here's our item, right? EAX. We're gonna, EAX1 here, and basically, we're gonna roll through this today. We're gonna take a look. I'm not gonna go into my tangent about derived dimensions. All right, but look them up. They're pretty awesome.
You say that you're not going to, but I think you want to.
At some, man, I want to so bad, but I'm not gonna do it. Right? Not today.
All right, we'll stay on track.
Right,
so we're looking at EAX_1. The biggest things that I really just want to touch on for here are going to be our item model group. So if we can take a look at that real quick, Chad.
Most important setup, I think, for items.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you do some stuff wrong, a lot of times, man, you gotta create a whole new item and move everything out, everything in. It can be,
and absolutely, you're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yep.
So the biggest things that we're going to talk about, especially for this, we are going to be using an actual inventoried item. So that big stocked product, that first checkbox, that's pretty critical. We will get issues if we don't have that. Note, we are going to be using FIFO for our example. So we're going to actually have it as actual costs that rolls in. Chad, for this, we didn't include the physical value, correct? Which we will see when we start looking at transactions.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that, and that's where we're going to talk about is humanity positive or is humanity naturally evil? So we'll come back to that here in a second when we talk about scrap. Yep.
Absolutely. And that's really the key stuff we need to look at in item model group. Everything else we can ignore at this point without going into too many sidetracks.
Okay. And then just to reference here, the item group, we created a new item group for this called EAX. So.
Made it easier to track.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So let's take a look. All right. So where do you want to go next, man? You're lost.
Well, let's dive right into it. Let's actually go to the Manage Inventory ribbon. And again, we're on the release product details, and let's go to the transactions.
Okay. And I'll pop right over here because I already got them up.
Perfect.
Yeah. Good minds think alike there, I think. So, but let me go ahead and filter this down here. I'll filter this down for just our item. Come on. AX.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who has issues with that sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry. You're not alone. You're not alone. All right. So, let me filter that down to just our EX1 here. All right. So just for the record, we already did these transactions. So we created a purchase order, we did the receipt, we did the invoice, we did the scrap. We did these things. All right. So we're really looking at this on the tail end. If you'd like to see that, be happy to show that to you. Like if somebody has a question, just send us an email or whatever. We're happy to show you how to do that. But basically, we're showing the output of that. All right. So go for it, Jamie. Walk us through it, man.
All right. So we're kind of joining two things here. We're going to talk about the AX grid, obviously, but I am going to reference the actual tables behind them. The reason that's important is for the Power BI. That's what I actually has to directly link into. So within D365, and I apologize if I call it AX, I somewhat use it interchangeably, but within D365, your transactions, which are all stored in the invent trans table, these are basically your backbone for the entire system. Okay, this tracks everything that occurs transactionally for any item. And it includes not only the physical transaction, but the actual financial transaction that also occurs. Okay.
Got it.
So a lot of times folks will go through this and go, sometimes finance will go, I don't care about the inventory transactions. I just care about financial. Well, within your invent trans, that financial information is all stored and backtracked with all your voucher information.
Yep.
So looking at this here, since as Chad already mentioned, we did already process this, so it already has our physical voucher and our financial voucher. So the physical voucher occurred at the product receipt, and then our financial voucher occurred at the time of invoice. So we actually have a physical cost amount. Hang on.
Yep, just going to slide down here for another sheet here for you. Here you go.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, exactly.
No problem. I thought I'd give you some nice little boxes here in the slide.
I love it. So as Chad did this, the red is just going to give you all your references. And again, I'm colorblind, so I'm pretty sure that first box is red. So you have our actual
close enough.
We have the actual purchase order reference, which is the first transaction we have. You have the green box, which is our physical. So in this case, the product receipt. And then you have the blue box, I want to say?
Yep.
Or is that purple?
Blue. Yep.
Perfect. All right, so that's the actual financial. And then in our wonderful black box, you have an adjustment. And this is specifically going to occur when we do those inventory close or inventory revaluations. And Chad, you can correct me if I'm wrong in any of that.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. I mean, the big thing I want people to understand is really, like, for Power BI at least, is the reference. Like, the reference is huge. Like, the most important, like, maybe the most important field is like overlooked is this reference, and we'll talk about that in a second. But again, these are the, like, even though we've done an inventory adjustment, we've technically done 4 transactions. You only see 2 here. You see the purchase order and you see the adjustment. That's really all I wanted to get into. And
one thing for the folks that we have that are watching this is that within D365, it's a normalized database. So Invent Trans is going to keep all that records, but that reference is actually stored in a separate table called Invent Trans Origin. Okay.
Yep.
So if they ever were trying to look and just pull in an Invent Trans to Power BI, they're not going to see that reference ID. You're just going to see an Invent Trans Origin ID, which then you would have to match and link it back to the Invent Trans Origin.
Yep.
So,
and I've taken, and by the way, I've taken care of that through some handy dandy code. So don't you worry.
You made it easier for our users.
Yeah, that's right. I made it easier for me, Jamie, for me. Yeah. But basically, like, trying to get this concept to people is really, really tough. Now, the one thing I will reference, and Jamie, where do you stand on humanity? Is humanity naturally good or naturally evil?
With my experience, especially with inventory, I'm typically pretty pessimistic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Because if you do remember, like, Jamie referenced that include physical cost. Had I done that, you would have actually seen a cost in the physical in the physical box here. You would have seen $100 come out here. But since I didn't have that box checked, okay, it all ended up coming out as an adjustment because I didn't have a financial cost at the time. All right. So this happened at 10:15, 11:15. Okay. So now the question is that you have to ask yourself is did I leave that box unchecked on purpose, right? In order to highlight the importance of that box, or did I forget it, do all the videos and slides, and then just say, you know what? So just which, I'll let you decide, Jamie, on which way you think it went there. And your pessimistic view of the world would probably be accurate. So, but that's why you're like really in the world I would want to be in. I'd actually want to see $100 here, okay, and I'd actually want to see $100 really here. But then I want to see the adjustment only be $20. That's really the way we would want to set this up, okay. But I wanted to highlight the importance of that checkbox. So
and Chad, just for the folks on the phone, that transaction that was a journal, correct? We did we did an adjustment journal.
It was a scrap journal. Yep, that is correct. Yep. Sorry about the dog. All right. Hey, but Jamie, if you want to see this, if you want to see that,
that's the beauty of looking at these transactions. You can look right back to the actual order journal.
The other thing that people don't know is you can actually see the receipt and the invoice number in these as well. Okay, so like it's pretty handy. All right, so we kind of have an overview of the Invent Trans, right? So let's from here I'd like to diverge. Okay, I'd like to diverge into your world versus my world, right? Actually, when I say that, I really mean more from a functional perspective. Like I kind of once we get here, I kind of diverge into 2 places. I diverge into the operations versus finance, 2 groups that generally don't like each other very much, right? that we make them get together and play only at one time, which is when we're doing an implementation, right?
It's like a family Thanksgiving. We coerce everyone to make sure they're at the same.
That is exactly. I've never heard it said like that, but it really is like getting together for Thanksgiving with family. Like we all have to be here. Right. However, we also need each other, right? Like we get it. Okay, so
you know Uncle Dave's gonna get in an argument with Aunt Sarah. It's just gonna happen.
It's definitely gonna happen. So basically, like where I'm going next then is I'm going. We'll go to the ops side. All right. And it's kind of the age-old question I always ask them, which is like, hey, just because I have something in inventory and it's got a cost doesn't necessarily mean it's available or it's there for operations, right? So basically where I'm at here is I'm in the on-hand grid. So I went into the inventory management on-hand list here, all right, and you can also see it up here in the filter or in the URL. But basically, I filtered down just for EAX1, all right, and as you can see, I've got 20 units. So it took my 2 lines in inventory transaction and it made it 1 line in this grid. Okay,
right, because it's a sum of your transactions.
Yep.
And
Yep.
for our users on the phone, or not on the phone, but on this presentation, is that everything in on hand is a summation of invent trans, and coincidentally, all this on hand information is actually stored in another table called invent sum. So the best part of so we've talked about 3 tables so far: invent trans origin, which is all of our references, and then invent sum, which is actually a summation of all of our transactions. And the reason it's done like that is because we don't want every time you look at your on hand to have AX have to calculate all your transactions. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Whereas whenever a transaction occurs, invent sum is also called to calculate that new adjustment.
All right. So what I did here. Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
Chad, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, man.
But you hit the final table that we need to include, which you just pulled up those dimensions. So within AX, everything from your site, your warehouse, location, batch number, serial number, if you're using any type of product masters, so like size, color, config, all that gets stored as a single ID, known as an invent dim. Okay, so it's short for inventory dimensions. So that's our 4th table that we also have to know for Power BI, because if I were to ever look in invent trans, invent sum, it's just going to give me an invent dim ID, which then I would have to look back to the invent dim table to figure out what site, what warehouse, what location, etc. is included within that dimension. Okay.
Right. So and basically, like, it really just tells me physically where are these things at. All right. So don't care about your operations, folks. Let's talk about accounting, right? What's in the building and how much does it cost, right? Because that's what we really care about, right? But to that point, like, what's in physical inventory versus what's available to me operationally, those are 2 different things. All right. And that's just it's just we could spend a whole session on just that. We're not going to, but basically just know that, like, we could. All right. So next thing we're going to do here is we're going to go to the accounting side of the world. All right. So and we're going to go to this wonderful new module, cost management. And I'm going to go to inventory accounting. All right. And I'm going to go to inventory value. All right. This is your inventory subledger. And I was at a conference this last about a week ago. Jamie showing some stuff with the inventory value and versus Power BI. And I didn't bring up the tab. I didn't fake it and have a slide. I made them do what we're doing right now. And I sat there in awkward silence. And somebody,
it was painful, right?
Basically, I was waiting for someone to go. I was just waiting for someone to say, "Hey, this, you're kind of getting slow." And so I just kind of looked at the audience, and the key point where I really felt like everybody was zoning out on me. And I said, "Hey, does anybody feel the pain of what I'm doing right now?" And the answer was yes, right? Heck yes. Because up until this point, you've been fun and entertaining, and now you're doing nothing. I want people to feel how painful this is, because then when we go to, if I just show some snappy slides here, you don't get it. Like I want people to understand kind of what's out of the box versus what we can do in Power BI here in a second. So,
and even in a high-powered system, this still can be exceptionally slow.
Oh yeah, historically slow, or not run at all, right?
That happens as well. Too many things.
Yeah. So, well, Jamie, while we're waiting for this, all right, let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and dive into one of our Power BI desktop files. Okay.
Yeah.
While we're
perfect.
waiting for that to load. All right. So here.
This is where you're gonna make, you're gonna put D365 and be like, this is what Jamie's gonna give you. This is what Chad's gonna give you.
Right.
Faster mine goes.
Yeah. I like to call this session anything Jamie can do, I can do a lot better. That's really what I like to call this. All right. So the first one we're gonna look at here is we're gonna go and look at the on-hand inventory. Okay. So we just looked at that grid in D365, but I'm gonna open up this Power BI file here. Again, all these Power BI files are yours. You just have to change the connections. The first 2 here out of the box will work with any D365 environment. 7.3, 8.1 doesn't matter. And they do have some limitations. All right, there are some limits, which is why we created the 3rd one here. So while this opens up,
Chat
already running.
Opening up. Quick.
Yeah.
Quick question, kind of putting you on the spot.
No, please do. No, look. Okay. Like I tell everybody, put me on the spot. I do this for a living, right? Like, right. And this is the only time where if I don't know, I can tell you I don't know, and I don't even have to get back to you. I don't have to follow up or deliver on anything else that you ask.
So the biggest question I have, because we have a lot more users starting to use like the warehouse management whole modules and whatnot, is does your on-hand report include like the license plate information?
If it's in invent dim, yes, sir, it does.
Okay. Good.
Yep. Yep. So it will do that.
I'd be curious if it's faster, because I know that on some of our folks we've seen with WMS, it takes a bit longer to open on hand if you include that license plate.
That is, yep, that is correct. Also, too, it's nice to be able to go across companies as well. That's a kind of a nice add. So, but basically, if I look at this table here, all right, so just to kind of give you guys an idea, I'm in Power BI, and what I found, Emmy, is like when I started like helping people with Power BI or whatever, they'd get this Power BI desktop file and they get a blank canvas, and I was in a presentation at AXUG and somebody said, "Hey, pulling data is easy. There's all these data sources." Like, no, stop. I wanted to get up and punch somebody in the neck, right? Pulling data is easy, yes. Pulling the right data is hard. All right.
Exactly.
So what I've done is like I've gone out and pulled. I went out and pulled. There's some data sources that you can pull. I went and pulled the inventory sites on hand. Okay, that's the invent sum. All right. It only goes down to the site level here, though. Okay, that's one of the limitations. All right. I also pulled the item group and I pulled the release product. So we saw the release products table. We know what the item group is, and then we saw the on hand grid. All right. So I pulled those. Like if you come into any of these files and you go to edit queries, okay. And really what I found is like if I give people something to start with, it's a heck of a lot better than them using the wrong data for weeks and weeks.
Oh,
and weeks
absolutely.
And weeks. Okay.
It's always easier to build from something versus from scratch.
Exactly. So basically what we do here is you go to data source settings, okay? And then basically the other thing you need to do is you need to make these things what we call cross company, or they only work with your default legal entity. So I've already made all these cross company, which is kind of a hard lesson for people to learn. But really, I really don't want functional people to know any of that, to be honest with you. I just want you guys to know that you go in here, you say change source, copy the URL from your environment, paste it right here. You're cooking with gas. All right. That's all you got to do. All right. It can't be that easy. It's that simple, right? And now also too, make sure you're logged in as you, whatever user has access. Okay. Make sure you have, the proper access and stuff. But basically now if I turn this off here, I now basically can look at any part, inventory item on hand across all legal entities. All right. You can't do that out of the box. All right.
So Chad, with that, is it using the product ID as kind of the master?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So basically, let's look at the relationships here. All right. So let's take a look at how I related these. All right. So basically, here's your on hand. Okay. So here's your on hand. All right. And basically, your release products is connected to that. So every one of these has an item. And the way we do it is we build a little key here. I'm getting all geeked out technical on you, but basically, we build a little key. We just concatenate company and item, so that those link together. So
got it.
Yep. So that links there. And then basically the item group then links. And you want to make sure like a lot of people don't do, like when they start out, they start trying to connect item group to item group. And then they get an error that says, hey, there's not a unique value here. Well, it's because you're seeing maybe the same item group you set up multiple times in the same company. So basically if you build out, just little things like that, but I've already done that for you. Like you don't even need to know that, to be quite honest, to get this to work. All right. But basically, that's really the relationship. So if you think about it, just kind of going back here, like we looked at this grid. This was the release products grid. Okay, we looked at the on hand grid. Okay, and basically level 2 here, you can see the actual data. All right? See, I love to use this for
this is awesome.
For migration, for data migration. All right, like I use this, like I know what I expect. I load data migration. I just hit refresh and boom. I can see the other thing I can see here that I can't see out of the box is I can see all the financial dimensions that I'm using as well. Can't do that, right?
You're right. You can't
in the grids. All right. So there's a lot of things I can, and again, I'm better because I have better tools, not just because if we were equal, you probably have me in the foot race, right? But I've got nitrous oxide and a faster car than you. So. But basically, yeah, I mean, that's really where I want to go. And I can see on-hand quantity, reserve quantity. Now, one of the limitations is this, I can only see this by site. I can't go down to that license plate level you're talking about.
Right.
All right. So they stop it there.
So Chad, is this inventory sites on hand? Is that an existing entry data point that you've just pulled in?
Yeah, this right here it's an existing data entity that's out of the box with D365. So yep, all 3 of these are out of the box. Now, what I like to do is rename them so they make sense. But if I start renaming them, then you don't know what they are when you connect to them. So I'm always torn about, do I rename fields and data sources or not? Like I'm never really quite sure what I should do there. I've been torn, but yeah. So like, let me come down here though, real quick. Let me go to the item group and let me find our is it EAX? Sorry, EAX. Here we go. Is it this one? Yep, here we go. So there it is. There's our item group. All right. See our 20 units. Okay. And basically the key thing though is like this needs to tie back to. It needs to tie back to somewhere here. Well, I guess I closed already, but it needs to tie back to that on-hand grid. All right. So now let's go over to the accounting side here. We'll go to the accounting side, and we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna run this twice. We're gonna and the first time it may not make much sense, but I'm gonna run this first as the summary. All right. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to like basically the two reports I'm about to run are going to tie back to the next two models that we look at in Power BI. Does that make sense, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
You're my litmus test. For the functional perspective, I just view it as like summary. I just want to know what did I end up at.
Right, exactly. So basically, what I'm going to do here is basically I'm only running this for our one item group. Okay, I'm going to take out my illegal value here. I'm not sure what that is. All right, and basically, let me say okay. Come on now, and basically, if we take a look at how this is set up. Okay, I'm only running inventory. Okay, so I'm not pulling WIP or cost of goods sold or anything else. I'm just pulling inventory values right now. Okay, I'm only grabbing the item group. Okay, resource group. Not pulling anything else. Not going down to the item level. All right, this is why I call it the summary level. All right.
Right.
I'm going to summarize the physical and financial so that you see those two things together, not in separate columns. We're going to calculate the average unit cost. Okay, and basically I'm running this in total. All right, not the detail level, the total level. All right, basically it's gonna give us that level of summary. The other thing I've got on here is I've got site. So we're gonna look at basically the way, like if you look at the inventory, we're gonna look at it by item group and site. Now that might not make any sense, but it will here in a second. I don't think I probably would ever run this for anything, to be honest. I'd like to look at it by item probably, but hey, they'll make more sense here in a second. So, this is the first one we're going to run. So I'll go ahead and kick that off here, and hopefully I've got the right group.
Mm-hmm. No, but Chad, I'm just throwing in my 2 cents here from a financial perspective.
This is good.
From a financial perspective, though, they may just want to look at this if they just want to see. I know this item group always posts this account. I want to make sure everything is matching what I expect.
Good point. They could use it for a GL.
All the way down the item, right?
Yeah, look at it for like a GL recon would be a great example of when to do that. So, hey, thanks, man. You just making my make my stuff applicable. So the other thing that I've done is I went ahead and I've got a workspace created. I went and published this. So know that like these desktop files, like we're gonna look at the online version as well, just to kind of highlight. So these other ones I looked at, I went ahead and published them to my workspace here. So gosh, why this is still running, I could have already had the answer, I think, Jamie. But basically. Basically, like we already looked at the inventory on hand, all right, but we're going to look at the inventory, what we call value summary, all right. This report is going to tie to what we're about to look at here in a second, and we'll talk about its limitations here because it's got some limitations. But again, I'm working. I always try to take the out of the box as far as I can go first. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go back to the inventory value report that's still running, I might add. All right, I know it's painful, still running.
Just for one item or one item group.
That's right. So still processing. All right. And what I'll do here too is I'll take us back to our scenario. All right. Okay. So still running, I might add. But yes, basically, I'm going to go ahead and move the date here on us for this to 12/31. So basically, I'm just following the same report parameters that we had in our other file. All right. So as you can see, I've got 20 units with $240, which if you remember from our on hand, 20 was right, and at $12 a unit, Jamie, I know there's like new math and stuff, but I think this is pretty good. But the limitation of this is it only goes to the item group level. Now it does give you references, which is kind of cool. Okay, it does give you the references, but I just don't know what good they do you without really having the item. Okay,
right.
But I can see the 10 I scrapped and how much they cost, and I can see the 30 that I purchased and how much that cost. I don't have a a reference number. I don't have the PO. I don't have the journal. I don't have any of that. So, but I have a little bit, but not a lot. All right. So let's go ahead and make sure that I'm right.
Chad, in your experience, what is the refresh timing? Like, how long does it typically take?
On the refresh? Oh. Okay, great question. Really good question. Okay. For inventory and stuff, most of the time, I do not build stuff to be refreshing right now, this minute. Okay. Like I don't really do a lot with live data. What I generally do is I'll set up refreshes, maybe, usually I start out with once a day, usually midnight.
Right.
Usually I'm as good, because most of the time, especially with inventory transactions, because a lot of times like they're doing the scraps and stuff all day, and then they're not putting the journals until the end of the day, or they're not doing whatever it is they need to do till the end of the day. So even if I had it earlier, it wouldn't be a good representation. So I always tell people I'm as good as midnight last night. That's generally how I roll this. And in basically I have people who create reports and people who use them. All right. So people who create them use the Power BI desktop files. People who use them come here. They come to the online version. And usually we set the online versions up to refresh every, you can set up automatic refreshes on these, and we'll set them up for, once a day at midnight. Okay.
Got it.
Now,
is there any as far as issues with it, if like MRP is running, because it's also looking at inventory trans?
Yeah. You do need to kind of think about, you got to think about your schedule as far as like when you want to run this. Now with this inventory though, like I'm trying to think with MRP, it's not really looking at, it's not going to look at like firmed up, unfirmed orders or planned orders or anything like that. So,
right.
So now maybe on the on hand side, maybe. So, but I would factor that in. I would have this run after MRP ran, just to be safe. Yeah. So yeah, but basically here, this is going to link back to our inventory value report that ran. And as you can see here, I've got EAX AXUG has 20 units at 240. EAX has 20 at 360. I didn't run the inventory close on this item yet, but I should tie back to what I have in here. So there's EAX, here, and there's EAX here, because we haven't run the close on this item. All right. So I've got one before the close and one after the close. But again, what I say is it doesn't matter as long as it ties out. Like it could be wrong. Like I didn't run the close yet on one of these items, but I'm good if it's wrong, as long as it's wrong everywhere. Right.
Right. You're matching the AX or D365.
Exactly. All right. So you ready to have some fun?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. So this is pretty much worthless for me. All right. And basically what this is built off is Microsoft has an aggregate data entity that they built. That maybe it's very confusing. Like I'm an expert and I had a hard time trying to figure out how they're doing their out of the box inventory stuff. And basically like my theory, if you want my theory is basically that they said they want these KPIs, or they had different like boxes that they wanted to like reports they wanted to create, like tiles and stuff. So what they did was they engineered it backwards. So they said, okay, if we want all these things, what's the structure of the entity? I kind of go the other way. Like I'm more of a functional person. So I'm thinking like, what does a functional person need so that entity is all inclusive of anything I might need today, tomorrow, or yesterday. Right. But basically it's called the aggregate cost statement entries. Okay. If you're smart enough to find that, like it's tough. It's tough to find that. All right. Then I brought in item group, I brought in sites, I brought in legal entities, and I also have release products in here as well. But basically, no, I'm sorry, I don't have release products in here because I don't have any release products, all right? I think that the theory behind the reason this is like at the item group level is they're just scared to death of transactions, the number of transactions that are processing and rolling through there. I mean, it kind of goes to the next thing with the code that I'm about to show you. Like, I would not use this on a huge $20 million manufacturing implementation. I use this a lot with projects and other things. Like you just kind of have to know what your data is. Now, the good thing about Power BI is like millions and millions of rows don't scare me, especially if I'm automatically refreshing. Okay, like I don't care if it takes 45 minutes for the model to refresh overnight. That doesn't cause me any grief. But you just got to be a little bit smart about what you're doing. Now, the other thing about my code is it doesn't take it all the way down to the inventory like transaction level. I kind of aggregate up to a certain level too. So for performance, I kind of find out what I call a happy medium that this report doesn't have. So, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But so basically we know how this one ties out, and that this is really the one that ties out to the out of the box. But really the one we want, that's probably closer to what we want, is we want to run the inventory value, but we want to run it for the detail level. All right. So if I'm going to look at the detail level here, I'm gonna details.
Because detail is going to give you the full breakdown as
Yeah,
to what
so I'm
got
still
you
looking
to that last number.
Yeah, still looking at inventory, and I could throw on a bunch of sites and all the license plate and all that good stuff for you. But then basically here I've got the resource ID. I'm looking at the item. I'm looking at total of the item. Looking at the item group. Still summarizing physical and financial, but basically here's the key thing: is it's at the transaction level. So what's cool about this and what people like is you're going to see every one of those different. Like instead of so in the inventory trans we saw it as 2 records. In the inventory on hand we saw it as 1. Well, now we're going to kind of see it how accountants think of it, which is 4 transactions, right? A receipt, an invoice, a scrap, and an adjustment. All right. So like, let me go ahead and kick that off. And while we're kicking that off, we'll do we'll do about 10 things over in Power BI while this runs. Sorry. The other thing about
this, I'm sitting here in D365 waiting for it to run. I could already do it.
The other disclaimer when you run your detail is you have to be very careful about running the detail, because if you try to run this wide open for like the whole year, it will not process. It will not run. I guarantee it. Like it will bomb on you if you have a ton of transactions. So, but basically, if I come over here now, I'm going to go over to my model. So here, but basically, in order to get this one to work, I do have a Visual Studio project you need to put in. All I'm really doing is I'm just surfacing a view called inventory value trans, okay, which is the basis for what the inventory value report works off. Funny how that works. But basically it's EAX here, and basically all of the data entities you're about to see are all ones that I build. And I don't I'm kind of stuck, Jamie. I'm always torn because for what I do on a day-to-day basis, we use Power BI to implement better, to support you better, all that stuff. We build a lot of our own custom models because we just don't trust the ones Microsoft gives us. Like we're afraid they're going to change or move or break or whatever. So we build a lot of our own custom. So this is one we've had for years that we've used, and it's been a very nice thing, and it's really helped us kind of bridge the gap with a lot of folks on trying to get operations and everybody to understand exactly what's going on, which is kind of the struggle.
But you hit it right on the head there, Chad. Is that with AX, it's not, or D365, it's not that simple to just show it visually or give them that thing, or they have to wait, how many hours to get the data out of D365.
Right, exactly. And it's just
the Power BI is what makes it a little more palatable, and you can say, listen, here's what happened, here's the chart, here, and here's your time phase in a graph. And a lot of people, visual learners especially, will find that much easier to digest.
And for me, it's about, I'm not sure why that didn't run. See, again, I want you to feel the pain. I want you to feel the pain of this. All right. Okay. Like of this report, like this is the pain. Like, what did I do wrong here? Again, I don't know, but let's figure it out. Right. Why didn't this run? All right. But basically I don't have this problem over on the Power BI side. I'm just pushing a couple of slicers. Mm-hmm. It's called what I call CFO proofing the report, right? I don't want to give them any more. I don't want to give them more than one button to push.
Although I do have to chuckle though, because with the inventory value report, you're exactly right, because it doesn't matter how many times I've done it before. It's always the first several times are kind of experimenting to get exactly what data I need.
Yeah, in this case,
there's so many different toggles that you can turn on and off to see certain things.
The other thing I don't like about it is it's kind of an all or nothing. Like I either get a summary at an item level, or I get every transaction that ever happened. Right? That's my frustration with this report. My stuff aggregates a little bit better than that. So also the when you dump this to Excel, it's awful. By the way. So
you won't be able to use it, or you'll have to sit another 30 minutes trying to format it so it's even readable.
Yeah. So just in this case here, we can see the 30 that came in on the purchase order. We can see the 10 we scrapped. We can see the $60 adjustment that came in when it got invoiced, and we can see the 120 here. Again, still kind of hard to do in this view of the world. Right. All right. Still tough. Still tough to view, but you can at least get a good idea of what's going on here. But if we go over, let's go over here and let's look at it.
And just bear in mind, I mean, if you are looking for very specific items, and you just kind of want to see a breakout of it different from the transaction view, it will work, but it's still clunky.
Right. Right. So basically, I mean, exactly. And the other thing I like about this is I can see things cross company. I mean, that's the other huge benefit is the cross company piece of this. Like being able to see the same item, like how much I have across companies, is so nice. I mean, think about costs of goods sold by the different legal entities. Like why is it costing so much more in Manhattan versus, I don't know, Abilene, Texas? Okay, like you know, and you can see that here. But basically, Jamie, the other question I always like to ask, this is a good example. And again, this isn't about KPIs and graphs. This is about telling a story and making it easy for functional people to adopt. Like that's why I think my view of how this works is different than the world. So I always throw this question out. How much did the, okay, so Jamie, I got 20 units here. Okay. Mm-hmm. How much did this inventory cost? And I threw this out in my session last week, and man, people were not happy with me. But in the
that's a good way to start a fight.
Yep. So Jamie, how much did these 20 units cost?
Well, it depends at what time of day and what date you're talking about.
Right. See, the correct answer, Jamie, was going to be, is it cost? You know, the first person said $10, and the next person said $12. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, the answer to the question is it depends. Like the cost of the inventory depends on what date we're looking at it, right?
That's right. That's exactly
Good luck trying to explain this with the two out of the two reports that the inventory value and the inventory trends and the on hand. All right, this is generally when the trend comes off.
Exactly. I'm like, that is yes, you're 100% correct, because there's just not a good mechanism right now to show that or explain it.
Right. So let's say it's 9:30, right? Oh, 9:30, I had 30 units at $300.
Oh.
Okay, so but now at 10:31, okay, 10:31, I had $20 at 15. Well, why is that? Well, because I scrapped some, but the value hasn't left me yet, right?
Right.
But let's look at what it would be at say 11:15. Okay, 11:15 is looking more like what is that? $13 a unit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, it's all because of that. It's all because Jamie forgot to check the stupid physical cost button on the item model group. Good job, Jamie.
Well,
but again at 11:30, right? I've got a different number. So again, like it's easy to show that here. Also, these references are huge. All right, these are what you're talking about. These are so important, and I can also see the object that these came from as well. So I have a whole lot of visibility here. And again, I think maybe my inventory value report may have stopped running a couple minutes ago, potentially. All right, but again, you don't get to use this until you understand where it's coming from. That's the key thing. You gotta really understand where it's coming from. So, all right. So at the beginning, Jimmy.
So adding on that though, Chad, I mean, the inventory value, you're not going to be able to show something like this. It won't make any sense. Even when you're looking at the transactions data with the cost value, it's sometimes hard to kind of lay out that story.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, the other nice part about this is I can, I can see by item group, I can see by item group here what I've got. So like these slicers also work as filters as well. So I can see what my balance is for TV and video. Okay. I can also then see, hey, how many of the TV and video, how many shipments is that? Okay. I can see, okay, here's all the shipments I've done. Okay. For these items. Okay. You ready to move to the big finish?
Let's do it.
All right. Okay. Big finish time. All right. If you remember, I talked about how this is more than just inventory and it's more than just Power BI. Okay. These are the core pieces of transactions. And once you understand this, once you understand kind of the relationship between the data sources we showed and the Power BI, there's some really cool things I can do. All right. So let me kind of walk you through what that may or may not look like. All right. So what I have done in here in the model is so if you remember, I basically have the inventory value model, got the item master, okay, and here's our inventory dim. And let me make sure. Oh, Jamie, I believe your license plate ID is right here. Okay?
Ah, beautiful.
So I'll pull that in a second just to show you that it works. All right, just to prove that out. But basically, the thing I did as well. Okay, if you remember, we have these references, right? We have the item journal or the PO number. So what I did was I run and brought in the out of the box entities for PO header and sales order header. Okay, and I link them to the reference to that reference ID. All right. So what does that give me? What that gives me is if I'm going to go to the next level here now. Okay. So what I've done here is I've taken all my inventory transactions and I've said, look, I only want to see the reference type that we talked about, purchases and sales. I only want to see what I've purchased and what I've shipped. Okay. How much has come in through one door and how much has gone out of the other door. All right. So I'm not looking at scrap. I'm not looking at that. I'm just looking at purchases and sales. Okay. Why is that important? Well, I might want to know how well my vendors are, or what my vendors are charging me for stuff. And I also might want to know what my cost of goods sold is and how that's changed over the years. All right. So let me take this off here, but here's what I can do that you can't do anywhere that I know of in D365. All right. Is I'm going to go in here and basically, let's just say that I want to look at sales. I'm going to look at sales. So now what I've got is I have any shipment that I've done from the beginning of time until now. All right. Now it's going to show up as a negative because if I ship something out, it's a negative in inventory.
All right. It's deducted.
Yep. But here's the thing. I can see the cost of goods sold for any item over any period of time. And here is what we can do that you cannot do inside of D365. If you want to see I've got the customer name. Okay. I got the customer number here. Okay. I can see any purchase by vendor. Okay. You can't do that in the inventory value report. Good luck. All right.
No.
But what I can do now is I can come here and say, you know what? I want to see everything that these guys, these guys have done. All right. 1001. I just have the account number here, but the name of that is the default retail customer. It looks like so, but no, I'm sorry. It's where is it at? I mean, that's the vendor name. Anyway, I don't have the customer name, but actually I do have the customer name. It's going to be right here somewhere. Football stadium. Yeah. Anyway, little to say, I can see what I've shipped and what that's cost me over a very long period of time. Okay. Let me kind of change this over. We'll just look at USMF for a second. I can look at it by company, or I can look at it cross company. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this. We'll go to the item name and let's go to T001. All right.
That's huge right there. I know I can't even touch on it enough is that legal entity, being able to look at it across. You can't do that in D365.
Yep. I mean, my question is why I'm, if I'm selling something to, I don't know, Contoso Retail of Los Angeles versus selling something to Shrike Retail, why does my cost vary so much? Why does the quantity vary so much? So now what I could do is I could say, hey, show me how much from of this item we've sold to. Looks like this is our biggest customer, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's just look at it for say 2017. And hopefully I've got some data in 2017. So okay. We couldn't even think about this in the inventory value report. All right. By the way.
Yeah, no, it doesn't support any of that.
It would be crazy if we tried to do this.
And the scary part is customers, everyone asks for this type of information, but there just isn't an easy way to get. It's like the data's there within D365. It just isn't readily available to get pulled out like this.
Yep. And so basically, here's our 55, and and basically here's the cost of the 55 here. Okay. The reason we're seeing zeros here is because the invoice came in for the same quantity and amount, so we're getting a second line coming through there. But yeah, one's the shipment, one's the invoice. But yeah, again, I can merge those two together. I can aggregate out. I can aggregate in. Jamie, I will not leave you without giving you a license plate here. All right, my man. All right. So,
all right.
Let's do that. I can't. I make sure I deliver on my promises here. And then I'll grab you a license plate here. Oh, whoopsie. Man, gotta know what I'm doing here. Get it together.
Get it together, Chad. Come on.
Get it together. Make good decisions, Jamie. Make good decisions. All right.
Nice.
No, in my life,
it's interesting. I don't think you can even do that.
But yeah, I mean, you have to trust me.
Yeah.
I haven't posted anything with a license plate, but yeah, you'll have to take my word for it. But I think I got something with style in it. There you go. So there's, I got at least some dimensions for you, so you can see by, but think about it. I can look at all the yellow things I made, or I can look at all the larges or all the regulars, right? I mean, again, the possibilities are what you could do are really endless at this point. Okay. But again, it all goes back to one thing though. It all goes back to the fact that, like, if I go back to that original item I'm looking at, right? AX, the EAX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, this one. It's still got to total back to that report. It's still got to be there. So
right.
Let me just kind of break down the summary here, and I'll let you out, Jamie. You've been a well, I don't want to say great guest. Let's not go that far, right? We looked at the basically we have 3 models. We looked at the inventory on hand. All right. So if you can see here are my I included these in my in one of the folders here, but basically you can see where each one of these data sources I have in Power BI, like what grid they map to. So it maps to the on-hand grid we looked at. It maps to the release product grid we looked at. It maps to the item group that we looked at. Okay, every one of these has a mapping. Okay, the next one here is we'll take a look is we got the inventory value summary. All right, so basically I've got site, group, legal entity, and then this my favorite data entity of all time, this aggregate cost statement entries that I hate with a passion. And basically it maps to that inventory value summary level that we did. Last but not least is we've got our custom one, which is, same thing. These are my EAX data entities, but you can see where they map to as well. We covered all this today. Thank you so much. But again, this is not just about inventory. It's not just about Power BI. It's about doing things you can't do in the normal D365 world that you can do in the Power BI. Got to have a strategy. Got to have a smart guy like Jamie who's coming in to help me out and who can translate the world. But again, don't do these things separately. Do them together and use these models. That's all I ask. Use the models. If we, that's what they're there for. Please use them. Give us feedback on what you like, what you don't like. But do not complain to me about the out of the box aggregate data entity for inventory value. All right, you can blame Microsoft for that, not me. Jamie, anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to wrap up with today?
No, Chad, I just appreciate you having me on. This has been awesome, and I got to learn something as well. So I hope that everyone enjoyed the presentation, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing about folks using this with you.
All right, hey man, we'll bring you back on. I think you're just gonna be my hype man. Like I'm gonna be like the guy that comes out before, right, and then just ask me really hard questions. Like that's really what I think we're gonna do from now on. So, but anyway,
no, you were well prepared. It was hard to get you in any gotchas yet.
Yeah. Well, hey man, have a good one, dude. Thank you for coming on, and hey, thank you for joining us. Thank you for supporting the pod, supporting the videos, and we're going to try to get these out regularly. Thank you for continuing to support us and listen to Dynamic Chatter.